Hey guys, it's TC. Thank you for joining me for another episode of This Game Stinks. I'm your host each and every week, every Monday morning. We got a special group of episodes coming out here this month. We're going to be known as This Retro Game Stinks. Today we're going to take a look at a SNES classic, Super Nintendo classic, one of my favorites from my childhood, Megaman X. We're going to go ahead and put old Mega Man through the stinkometer. Let's get started. So as you heard earlier, we're going to try to take a little bit of a different approach here on This Game Stinks this month, this entire month. The 4 Mondays of this month, I'm going to be coming out with a different episode of This Retro Game Stinks. So we're just taking a retro aspect this month. Probably jump back into maybe some new releases that are coming out if there's any good ones coming out. But probably just back into some games that are still being played. Some games that came out that were really expected to do well but maybe didn't. You know, I'm reviewing all kinds of games. Honestly, I'm reviewing some of the games that have entered my life, and I know I've entered a lot of your guys' lives at some point. And we're just going to talk a little bit about why they could have been a little bit better. This month is going to be a pretty big challenge for me, actually. I always had thought that I would do some retro games, and just because I love the games, and I do this show because I love these games and I love gaming in general. I love just the aspects of being able to take your mind away from everything else and be able to just immerse yourself in a game, whether it be Super Nintendo, Sega, anything, any emulator, anything. Just to be able to relax and take your mind off what's going on. So in doing a retro episodes, it's really hard because these games are so fun still. I love all these games, and I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about some things that I guess annoy me about them. It's really turning into why these games are hard. So I just wanted to start with Mega Man. I love all the Mega Man games. I didn't start playing them on regular Nintendo. I know I feel like a schmo, like I'm not an actual Mega Man fan, but I am. I love Megaman X. Megaman X got me to jump back to all the other Mega Mans and play them. So for some reason, this almost seems like this is my favorite Mega Man because it opened the Mega Man gates. It's just so cool, the aspect that there's different types of guys you can fight that have different abilities that you can steal. I know, and Kirby kind of is like, what the hell, Mega Man? I do this shit already and much faster than you. But Mega Man is much different in that because I'm sorry, Kirby, he's way cooler looking. He's way cooler than you. Like way, way cooler than you. And it's not your fault, Kirby. It's okay. But back to my point, it's really cool that there's a level that's themed toward the boss you're fighting. Get to the boss. It's a legit boss fight. You know when you're about to get there. There's a little chamber room before so you can get ready. And I just like that setup. It's simple. And then the boss fights were always epic when I was a kid. I remember them being very difficult and fun and so rewarding when you could take that boss's ability. Take that boss's ability and shove it right up the ass of the next boss. But that came later. I understood when I was a kid that some weapons countered others, but I don't think I thought that far into it when I started playing the game. I just was like, this boss is cool. I'm going to fight this guy, and I'm going to try 100 times until I kill it with my X Buster, I guess. And that's one of my points going forward. You'll see there, and me just saying in general, it's very hard for me to find things I don't like because I like this game so much. This game is one of my favorite games of all time, probably in my top 10. Actually, yeah, definitely in my top 10 of all time. Remember, guys, we're putting the game through the stinkometer today. Just going to give you a quick reminder, even though I know you know. I know you know how the stinkometer works because you've listened to other episodes. But if you haven't, let's review one coin noise on that stinkometer. That means that the game is pretty good. It's as close to perfect as possible, but not a single game has not made it all the way through the stinkometer so far. And remember, that is completing the coin sequence, 8 coin sounds, and the game is stinky. She stinks, but she's played all the time. And that's the difference on this show. The game can still stink, but the game can be widely popular and loved by all. So let's get into it. The stinkometer this week is brought to you again by Sklobo. Sklobo is a clothing company on Instagram based out of Seattle. Really good friends with these guys. They got some awesome stuff online, and that is Sklobo, SCLOBO.com. I think some of their stuff's on sale right now, and if you use the code ThisGameStinks, all one word, you'll get another 15% off there. Also, guys, don't forget to comment. I'm on Instagram and Twitter. This Game Stinks 1. That's the number 1. Also, you can listen to This Game Stinks on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. The first point I'm going to make is that I hate fake fight scenes. And you know what I mean. It's a fake scene. It's only the first time you play it, I guess, or if you haven't played it in a while and you're coming back. But those scenes where you're fighting and you're like, oh, and you're fighting so hard, you're like, this guy's got to be dead. It's got to be close. And then you all of a sudden are almost dead, and you fought this guy for like 35 minutes if you're really trying hard. All of a sudden, he does something, and you're like, oh, it's part of a cutscene. What the hell? And I know that only happens once. I get it. You do it the first time, and it's over. But then this game has like a couple of them. I was playing through it again, and I think I hit at least another one before the end, where it was the same dude. I guess I should have saw it coming. Same guy, same situation where Zero was there. But I just get annoyed, I guess, when I'm wasting a lot of my time and energy, and then I realize that it was just for a part of the story. So I guess that's only a frustrating thing the first time, but then coming back to it, I got pissed off again because I just wanted to jump in and play. And I completely forgot that the first fight is a damn non-winnable fight. That being said, also, I can't skip over any of these freaking stories. And again, it's fine the first time. It's cool. You play the game for the first time, you want to read the stories, but when I jump back in and I don't remember any of my passwords or anything, and I have to play through the beginning portion of the game, I'd really like to just skip all that stuff. And I know you can skip it, kind of. You can just make everything go by really fast, but still, it's not fast enough for me. And I know it's not fast enough for this generation at all. It's got to be instant or else it's not fast enough these days. And I know what you're going to say. I know it's an old game, dude. Why are you complaining about menus not being able to be passed and all these things that are now available in games? But yeah, I don't know. They never thought that these games would be old someday and still played by everybody, and it should be able to skip through the damn story mode a little faster. I mean, the game came out in 93, 94. You just should be able to skip through. Just skip the story and go right into the level. I never remember what counters what. And I know that this really isn't a reason why the game stinks, but just for me, it stinks for me that I never remember what counters what. I always have to look it up. I never remember ever. So I guess that's just my point. I know that the X Buster can kill everything because that's what I used to do when I was a kid. It just takes for ever. There's just 2 ways to get through the game, either the hard way or the slightly less hard way, where you get the counters for the enemies, and it does make it much easier to fight the bosses. It does, because some of those bosses get melted by the counter. And that kind of brings me into my next point here. The consistency is good, but it's a little off. And when I say the consistency, I mean that for a couple of different things. Let's start off with maybe boss fights. So when I finally figured out that I was supposed to kill Chill Penguin first, he wasn't too bad. You figure out his patterns pretty quickly. And then you can move from there and use the counters on the bosses. And it's pretty easy. The next one after that, I think, is the Spark Mandrill, and then the Armadillo. And then you get to the octopus. Launch octopus. I don't know where this guy came from, but he's probably the hardest guy to fight in the game. I sat here, so I was trying to play through the game again, get some ideas flowing. What I usually do is I start with ideas that I remember when I was younger playing these games. Try to play through the game as much as I can. Try to beat the game. I mean, it doesn't really happen all the time anymore because I got things to do, and these games are tough. But what I try to do is play it again, just get some ideas. And goddamn, this launch octopus, took me like 2 hours to beat, I think. And it took up all the day I wanted to play the game. And it just frustrated me to no end. I was like slamming things and it took me back. It took me back for sure. Thank you, Launch Octopus, for that. But it took me back to a time that I didn't really want to revisit. But anyways, what I'm saying is that it took me, even with the counter weapon, forever to kill him. And it just, those missiles he shoots come at you and I couldn't block them. I had to like literally calm myself down, zen myself, and really concentrate and use like 2 sub-tanks. And honestly, that's when I remembered that I could use sub-tanks. It took me 4 bosses to realize it. By the way, let's do a little side note here. Is Mega Man the first motherfucker that can jump higher in water? I was playing this shit yesterday. Or actually, I was playing this shit all week last week and last weekend with a bunch of other stuff. Episodes to come. But he jumps higher in water. Like, what the what game does anyone jump higher in water? What game? You guys are probably going to tell me like a million games, but I guess just in my head when I was playing the game, I'm like, oh, this dude jumps real high in water. And it makes sense because of some of the fights you have to do in that level. But it was just kind of crazy to me that he moves around better in water. So maybe this is a bad point. Maybe most of my points are bad points on all my shows. Because I just don't realize things like I can use my sub-tank to fill my energy. And now none of the bosses are hard anymore. But that was the first one that actually made me turn to it finally. But anyway, it was very inconsistent, I think, between him and then now that I have his, like the torpedoes, his ability, I go to fight the ant. Go to fight Boomer. And he takes 2 seconds for me to fight because I can literally go anywhere on the screen and just keep firing and the homing missiles will kill him. So I go from taking 2 hours to kill a boss to 5 seconds. Also, the hearts and the sub-tanks and the armor pickups are very inconsistent with where they're located. Some levels have like all 3 things. Some levels have 1 thing. And I know that that's the progression you're supposed to figure out and try to take, and it kind of makes sense. If you do the game the way that you're supposed to do counter-wise, the game really does make sense how you get everything. You're supposed to maybe go back for a couple things, but that's why it's set up in the game that you can leave a level early once you beat it. So the game really does go in progression if you go through the right way, which they don't tell you to go that way. You have to know that way. But if you don't know the progression, some of the stuff is very easily found. Like you can see the heart. It's right there. You just need a special item to get it. Other times you need to take a flying leap of faith off the side of a building and randomly land on a moving pad that moves you over to the tank. So it's an extreme. There are 2 extremes. Like the first armor upgrade you get are your legs. Thank God, because you need that dash. We'll talk about that later. But you just run into it. You just run into the dock. He gives you the legs. You're like, oh, cool. Apparently I just can run into this guy every so often. He'll give me stuff. Nope. It gets harder and harder to find these items. You have to go looking into holes, crevices, behind blocks. I mean, you got to have a pretty good eye for some of these secret items to be able to get to them. You almost have like a good understanding of where secret things are found in video games. You may call it maybe even like a 6th or 7th sense. You better master that slide jump, brah. Woo, the slide jump is a staple of this game. It is a skill. It is a rolling thumb button pushing skill. It is very difficult to master. But the slide jump is key to what we were just talking about, secret items, and also key to survival in a lot of boss fights and level sanity. And when I say level sanity, I mean when you die for the 8th time on a level, and you got to start all the way from the beginning to get to the boss that you now have just figured out how to beat, you can skate through the level much faster with the boots. But you better not go too fast, because that will bring me to another point. But let's stay here just for a second. I'm segueing myself too early in this episode. But that slide jump, and honestly, more importantly, the long wall jump, which is very difficult to do as well. You know as well as I do that some of those items you need to be able to jump on the wall, that 20-foot long jump that he can do. One of the armor item pickups is in the level with the eagle, Storm Eagle. Yeah, Storm Eagle. And you got to jump completely across to pick this up this armor. And a couple other levels you have to be able to slide jump very far, or like jump and curl around a corner and just get the edge with your feet and jump up on the wall. So you got to really know how to position yourself with these jumps. These slide moves, or the jump slides, are also very important when you're fighting bosses too, because you can jump off the walls, because you're going to be clinging up on the walls a lot against the bosses, so you can jump on the walls a lot further as long as the boss isn't going to come up and get you. You can also just skirt underneath them very quickly once they jump at you, because a lot of them are jumping around like crazy, and you got to be able to get across the screen real fast, and these boots real help. Having no health really stinks in this game. I know. Having no health stinks in every game, TC. I know. But hear me out here. So I just killed something very big, maybe a mid-level boss halfway through the match. I got like 2 health left. Didn't get any drops from the boss. So now I'm rolling through the rest of the level with 2 health. Literally the next person that flicks me in the kneecap is going to kill me. And you know in this game that something could come flying out of nowhere in an instant and you up. So you only get health if you kill something. You see that little crappy loop that you get in there? So you got no health. You're looking for health, but the only way you can get health is if you kill something. And hopefully it's something that takes 1 shot. If you run into something that takes like a whole barrage of shots, you might be out of luck and something might get you before you can get any of that health. And you know what else kind of sucks about health? I never get any of it when I'm doing pretty good. I know that. I feel like the game knows when you're killing it, and they're like, nope, no health drops for this guy. This guy is, this is too easy for him. And I know that means, well, you don't need health if you're killing everything and you're doing great. Okay, but what if you have half health and all of a sudden you start doing really well? And I'm the kind of person that I'm always looking to have full health. It like kind of freaks me out when I don't. I want to always have that thing full. So I'm always looking for health. And I just noticed that when I'm halfway or like 25%, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I got to get into it a little bit more. I got to get my head in the game here. No health drops. None. So, come on, game. Let's get these, maybe this game just needs an update. Speaking of enemy loops, oh my lord. The enemy loops in this game can be so annoying, so frustrating, and just make you want to throw your controller across the room. I've actually never done that before. I've never thrown a controller, I've never smashed one before, because I like to take care of my video games. I've got a lot of friends that have gone through like 6, 7 elite controllers. I know that they're not the greatest built. I know that probably a lot of you guys have also gone through a couple. But guys, just definitely make sure you get that that extended warranty on those elite controllers. But anyway, this game, as far as enemy loops go, it sucks because you have to go off screen a lot. You got to try to get away from stuff on this game. You don't know if an entire sequence of bullets is going to kill something, so you got to kind of duck out of the way before the next loop comes from the enemy attacking you. So you go to kill something, you kill it, but then you went back too far, just like a millimeter too far off screen, come back this way, and now the enemy's back with another couple enemies, and now you're screwed. Just feel like in the most difficult parts of the game, they make sure that enemies can respawn instantly, so that you're just stuck in this continuous loop. It almost makes you force yourself to try to get past them because, once you get hit, you're invincible for a couple seconds in this game. So it just makes you kind of want to just say, screw this, and just run past them real quick, but then you end up with like 33% health by the time you get through that sequence. So my basic gripe about this, I guess, is that enemies come back when you go off screen, but that's all games in this generation almost, and that's what makes all these games really difficult and, I guess, stinky. If I didn't already have carpal tunnel, I do now. Yep, my hands feel like claws, especially my right hand, from just mashing the shoot button on this game for this last week. Okay, so some of the enemies take like one shot, which is great. That's awesome. Those little bats, those little balls with the legs. All the diverse enemy characters that are so well hidden a lot of the times too, that just pop out of nowhere. But I won't complain any more than I have to for more than 8 points on a game that I love today. But it's very tough to get through a whole level without your hand hurting. So like not a mid-level boss fight. It's not like your submarine or like that in the Spark Mandrills level with that electric thing that's inside the bubble, like those mid-level bosses that take like a pain in the ass in the middle of the map and you start from that save point. Not those, but let's go like a step under that. Those turtles that shoot the bombs. Those guys that like shoot missiles or just send sparks on the ground in a couple of the different maps. You know what I mean? Those not easy bosses, but not like a mid-level boss, like right in the middle, someone that takes a couple shots to kill. They are perfectly set up to be killed in the worst time. And that is such a good development part to make the game difficult, but damn it, does it suck. I feel like those turtles, I can kill them just before I get hit. Barely just before I get hit. So if you don't shoot them exactly as fast as you can, you're going to get hit. And that forces you to just mash the buttons and just make me have a claw for the rest of this week. Hopefully I'm going to be able to play some other of these retro games, but I think this carpal tunnel is going to get even worse as this month goes on. This game's hard. Yeah, I'm whining about it. It's so freaking hard. And all the older games are hard. Game Over never felt so real than when I felt it back then. Is it possible to make it through a level without getting hit? No, there's no way. I don't think there is. If you played this game all the time when you were a kid and played it even as growing up, like continuously played it, then maybe you're that good and you can get through an entire level without getting hit. Please send me a video of you not getting through a level without getting hit. That includes the boss fight, that includes mid-boss fight, everything, not hit one time. I don't think there's any way, and I think that's why you have so much health. That being said, I think that there's some people in the game where you just it's so difficult of a part that you just get hit. That's why you have all that health. You take those hits and you just pass it. Well, especially on the third or fourth time around, if you've died a couple times, you start to get really frustrated, and that makes the game even more difficult. Don't know what I mean? How can a game get more difficult? This is how it can get more difficult. You played through the level and died 3 times. You didn't get to the boss yet. Now you got the level figured out. I know that's extreme. I don't think there was any levels that I didn't get through 3 times. That's pretty crazy. Boss fights, yes. Not the level, but the levels are tough. Sometimes you get stuck in these patterns, especially some of the levels where you got to jump around on these moving platforms. But you got the level figured out. Now you're at the boss, and you get 3 shots at the boss. Now the boss is difficult, and it takes 3 turns to figure out his patterns. So now you're playing the level for maybe the 6th time, and you really want to rush through it, but guess what? You try to rush through it with those boots. Some parts you can. Yeah, some parts are easy. But if you try to rush through some of these other parts, you're just going to frustrate yourself more with a death. It's going to happen. You're going to fall off. You're going to hit those spikes on the water level. You're going to fall off the map on Storm Eagle's level. So you really got to take your time with this game, and you cannot get frustrated, and you have to be very patient. So if those things are not you, I would highly recommend not dusting off this game and playing it again. It's just going to raise your blood pressure, old gamers. Trust me, I had to turn it off twice. However, if you're a young person and listening to this, which I doubt, but anyway, if you're out there, the one of you, and you want a good, just sideways scrolling game, and when I say good, I mean excellent, just take your time. Take your time with it, and you will thoroughly enjoy. So just to review some of our points here today, we have fake fights, what counters what, boss and item inconsistencies, you gotta master that slide jump, no health is no good, devastating enemy loops, I got the carpal tunnel, and it's not possible to be flawless. So there you have her. 8 points. Megaman X makes it all the way through the stinkometer. You knew it was coming. You knew that I was going to be able to do it. Whether you agree with it or not, I mean, you probably don't, but that's fine. Just my points on why I think the game stinks, but I don't think it stinks. This game, like I said, is top 10 for me. I love this game. To give it an overall rating, I would have to say that it's smelly but awesome. Smelly but delicious. So like a sauerkraut. There we go. It's smelly like sauerkraut. It stinks like feet. But you slap it on a Reuben and try not to eat the whole thing. So that about wraps it up for me this week. I hope you guys enjoyed the first of 4 in this series of retro shows. I'm going to be covering some 64, some NES, and some SNES this time around. Don't forget to sub and follow This Game Stinks 1. That's the number 1 on Instagram and Twitter. Again, you can find me on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. Have a fantastic week, guys.